Hello and welcome back to another episode of the British and Irish Eagles podcast by Philly Sports International. And we are here for episode 2 of the Road to the Draft. And we can't have a Road to the Draft podcast without Mick the Beard McGivern. Mick, welcome back to the hot seat, my friend. How are you?
Fantastic, Liam. It's a Friday evening, so I'm happy that the working week is finally over and I can, sit back, enjoy myself, read about prospects, enjoy the combine this weekend where all the elite are testing themselves on the field and breaking NFL records, and everyone's getting excited for the draft. So, great weekend ahead, and there's an Old Firm game on Sunday as well. So it should be a good sporting weekend for me, if the results go the right way.
Are you expecting the results to go the right way?
No. I'm not,
dear.
But oh well, never mind. I'll just bury my head in the draft instead.
So if anyone saw EJ Smith tweeting out today, he's a Villa fan, and I think they lost 2-0 to Wolves, and he was like, "Don't text me, don't call me." Fandom over here is real, man, for the soccer, for the football, obviously. It's going to be a good week. The combine on, as you say, and looking forward to catching the wide receivers and the running backs do their on-field workouts tomorrow. Also looking forward to, I didn't get a chance, I was working today, to see the tight ends go about, but did you see the linebacker who ran the 4.47 yesterday? And there was another guy who ran a 4.46, I think. Some freaks out there.
Was it Sonny Styles and Narvell Reese? Was it the Ohio State linebackers? Yeah.
You got it.
I'm happy about that, Liam, for a simple reason being that those guys' draft stock is going to raise and they're going to get picked before the Eagles pick. And we're not looking for linebackers. We're not in the business of linebacker in this draft. So if those guys get taken before us, great, because that pushes the guys that we need down.
And what a perfect segue, because this podcast, we are talking about the Eagles' premier need. In my opinion, you could make the argument that tight end is also the premier need, because they currently don't have a tight end on the roster. And by all reports today, it's looking very likely that the Eagles will be moving on from Dallas Goedert. There's reports that there have been a lot of Eagles personnel, scouting staff, management team having a very close eye on the tight end class today and yesterday. And so don't have any major reports on that yet. But there are multiple reporters reporting that the Eagles could and might spend the highest draft capital on a tight end since they drafted Dallas Goedert back in 2018. So that's going to be an interesting one to look at. But we know, of course, that the Eagles win by building in the trenches, and we know how important the offensive line is for the way the Eagles want to run the ball and for the protection that's required for Jalen Hurts to take us back to the promised land. With the banged up O-line last year, Mick, with all of the injuries, the uncertainty that we talked about last week of who will even be there in 2027, we know that the whole crew are coming back for 2026. The most important position of need for the Eagles is offensive line. And with that, I will hand over to you to take us through. What have we got? 5 offensive linemen here that we're going to talk about in detail. Look at their strengths, their limitations, and importantly, our Howie methodology. Do they have the how and the we, or have they got the howie? So I'm looking forward to seeing this come to light now after you kind of teased it last week. So Mick, over to you, man. Who have you got? Who's the first prospect that you want to talk through here with us from the O-line?
Yeah, so I've been poring over these prospects over the last week or so, just trying to get the top guys in this draft class who I think that the Eagles should be looking at in the first round specifically, because as everyone knows, and as you correctly point out, it's a position of need and it's a position of high value. Typically you're not drafting an offensive lineman in the second round, third round, fourth round that's going to become, elite, like going to become an all pro or, pro ball caliber. So if the Eagles are serious about going O line first round, which we all think they are, I mean, you read most draft analysts' work, you read any of the beat writers' work, they're all talking about the offensive line. You hear Bo Wolf talking about that on the PHLY podcast. And he explained in detail, how likely it is when you draft a tackle in the first round comparatively to rounds 2, 3, 4, and so on, and the drop off is just massive. It's phenomenal. How the numbers are so heavily weighted to the first round, where I mean, it is obvious when you say it because the first round does typically have all the best players, but it's very, very difficult to find, specifically for this position, guys late on in the draft. So I've narrowed it down to 5 prospects. Can maybe give some shout outs to others, but these are the 5 that are probably worthy of a first round grade, whether that's earlier round in terms of trade up, or maybe trade back, or even sit where we are at the moment.
So you think all 5 could be drafted in the first round this year,
I think there's potential that all 5 could go in the first round, but we'll see how that pans out. We'll see how things develop through the combine this weekend as well. So the offensive linemen will be working out on Sunday, I believe, for their on-field.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. They've got their on-field measurements on Sunday, and their measurements, so that will be interesting. So we get their wingspan, their hand size, all that all the measurements that go into building the perfect old lineman in the picture that you're trying of the prospect that you're trying to bring into the building, and get a feel for them as well. So that's been, from the work that I've put in to this, I've been trying to capture as much of that as possible. So in no particular order, so I'm not going to rank these from 1 to 5 at the moment of who I think is the best. I just started picking names. So the first offensive tackle that we'll look at is Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia, who is a junior, 6'7", 315 pounds, 21 years old, as most of these prospects are. They play for 3 years and then they get out there and get themselves a bag in the NFL. So Monroe, he played some right tackle in 2024. Of course, that was limited snaps. Became a starter for the final 5 games of that season at left tackle, taking the job from Ernest Green, and he kept that job through 2025 and earned second team All SEC honors in that time.
At left tackle, was that at left tackle in 2025?
Yes, that was at left tackle. Yeah, absolutely. A lot. See, I've tried to develop that as well within the notes, or when I'm looking at these prospects of where they've played throughout that collegiate career. So, Monroe Freeling he played all of 2025 at left tackle, didn't take any snaps at right tackle. He had some right tackle experience in 2024, but only covering less than 200 snaps. So just maybe a handful of games there. So it does have some experience at right tackle. So the transition may not be as difficult as some players do tend to find. We won't go into the famous quote from Andre Dillard about wiping his arse, but
well, isn't it historically easier to go from left tackle to right tackle than it is to go from right tackle to left tackle? Isn't left tackle considered slightly harder because that's the blind side where
slightly more premium.
Yeah, interesting.
Absolutely, but we'll come on to someone else actually a bit later on in this where they maybe didn't find left tackle very, very easily, and they've excelled at right tackle. So that plays into exactly what you're saying.
All right,
and
nice.
right tackle can
Making me
be
sound
slightly
like I might
lazier.
know what I'm talking about here, Mick. That's dangerous.
So Monroe
What's
Freeling,
what's his strengths
he's
like? What are we looking out for on his? What's he good at?
yeah. I mean, I like his footwork. It really pops off if you watch any of his highlight reels. You go onto YouTube, watch any of the Georgia games over the last couple of years. I really like his footwork. He shifts his weight really well and has good agility, and you can see that in his lateral movements on the offensive line. Um, as a pass protector, that's where his bread and butter is. That's where he
Okay.
excels. He has a pass blocking grade of 85.6
Mm.
through PFF, and he's only allowed 9 pressures in 2025. Unfortunately, 3 of those pressures were sacks. Um,
Nine
you
pressures
got
is
to
very good, though.
yeah, but you got to expect. I mean, not all prospects are going to be squeaky clean, not allowing a single sack in a season.
Landon Dickerson, I
Especially
think, had 2 or 3 seasons where he didn't allow a single sack at left guard before he came
yeah,
out.
some of these guys are just crazy.
Yeah,
But
with half a
obviously,
leg.
Landon had those injury concerns as
He did,
well. You know,
which is
so
why he
it's
fell. Yeah, and that's interesting. Something we'll come on to later. Like, I'm really interested. You made the point about the drop off between the first round and the second, third, fourth round. I think the Eagles actually have history more than I would imagine most of our teams of finding gems or diamonds in the rough. I mean, you look at Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, both 6, 7 rounders, and then you look at Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen all round 2 or 3 as opposed to the first round. But then on the flip side, you don't have Jeff Stoutland anymore, and how much of that was we looked into great guys late versus how much was Jeff Stoutland University the reason they got to where they were. You feel it feels like you got to go for without. They may not have gone first round if Jeff Stoutland was here, but you feel like even more they need to go first round. I feel without Jeff Stoutland, right?
yeah, because we don't have the coaching to back it up. You know,
Yeah,
to compensate for whatever's missing from the player's profile because the elite tackles go in the top 10 because they've got it all already. They've either got it in their body and they've got the technique down, whereas the guys at the end of the first round probably have
I
they've
see.
got the lightness in the feet, they've got the quickness, but maybe the hand placement isn't great,
Yeah,
so they haven't fully developed the technique, and then that's where the coaching part of it comes in. And we're sort of unknown at the moment with our new offensive line coach that we've brought in this year that Sean Mannion has hired. I've actually forgotten his name just now. It's terrible. Um, but we've got to deal with what we've got, and I'm sure the new offensive line coach will be part of the evaluation. Hell, even Stoutland may even be part of the Eagles' valuations for this draft because he's still in the building, as far as I know.
right.
Um,
Okay.
so
It's Chris Cooper, new offensive line coach.
Chris Cooper, I'll forget that by tomorrow. Back to Monroe Freeling. Yeah,
He
as we said,
sounds
he
great
gave
so
up.
far. What's he not good at?
But well, he probably needs to add some weight to his frame. I said he's
Okay.
6'7". He's a tall boy. He's a
Yeah.
towering boy, but he's got such a slender build. So he's
Right.
315 pounds at the moment. Probably needs um,
15, 20 pounds.
15, 20 pounds, something just to get up
Yeah.
to an NFL caliber playing weight. I mean, you look at Elaine Johnson, he's 325 pounds. Fred is 326. I've got the Eagles roster up in front of me. They're all guys in the 320s. I think, although
Dickerson probably be even bigger than that. I would have thought. Mailata. What's Jordan?
Jordan, that's a good question. That's a good question because I expect he's 365. He's a
Yeah,
heavy old boy, but
he's
he's
a big
six
lad.
eight, isn't he?
But
He's
he's six
tall
eight.
as
But he's
well.
also good on. He's light on his feet. By the way, I've got a nickname for Monroe Freeling. So he said he's light on his feet. That means he must be a good dancer. So he's the Marilyn Monroe of the draft. I got a Freeling. Uh,
Yeah, but I mean,
yes.
he has a good frame to like build out that weight and like put on those pounds and
Okay.
maintain, and so that all comes at the next level, and I fully expected they'd be able to adapt to that.
Hopefully with
Other
a new Eagles
limitations.
cafeteria, though, Mick, because that was rated as one of the worst parts in the NFLPA report today. That
Oh,
the
was
Eagles
it?
cafeteria was rated an F, I think, or a D. So hopefully, if he's going to put that weight on, they make some improvements to the cafeteria before they draft him.
The Scran. Come on, improve the
Scran.
Scran game, man. Come on, what are
Wow,
we doing here? Got to feed these big old linemen. I can't
I
imagine
know.
what they eat in a day. Honestly, what they eat in a day must be crazy. Like the amount of calories that they burn, like with their workouts and the
Well, they
size
go
that
down
these
to
guys
Chicky
are.
and
They're just
Pete's on a Monday, and some of them do like a podcast on the Monday in Chicky Pete's, and I know the owner of Tommy, the
flat.
owner of that place, and he tells me like that my lad and all of them like they put in requests for like these huge amounts of food that they eat while they're there, and then they take home with them to eat as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's a big flex, but a little flex.
yeah, I love flat. Ah. Um, all right, I'd say it's other limitations in Monroe. His run blocking grade is only a 61.7 per PFF, so room for improvement there in his run blocking schemes. As I said, that's probably due more to his light frame.
Yeah,
He just needs to put on a bit of weight and knock some people on their arse, is what I say. So, um, another thing that maybe we'll give him a bit of a ding for is his experience. So he's only really got one full season under his belt at Georgia, having only he played the final 5 games in 2024. So that's a small sample size. He did play in the playoffs um, in 2024
so
as
he's got a
well, but
season and a half under his
he's
belt,
got a
basically.
season and a bit. Yeah, but a
He's
lot of
gonna
these
need to
guys.
sit for a while. That doesn't sound like a ready-made starter to me.
No,
Well,
it
not
doesn't.
in any Eagles organization, but you know what I mean. Maybe there are other teams who are stupid enough to throw him in, but not something the
Yeah.
Eagles. I don't like. You would need this guy to sit behind a mile out a lane, depending on which side of the. I mean, before we get into your Howies, like, do you think the Eagles will prioritize offensive linemen who've played more snaps at right tackle in the draft than this guy?
It's hard to say because we know that he's going to sit for a year. He's not going to see much playing time at the Eagles unless something happens to Lane, God forbid, knock on wood,
Mm.
and Lane goes down. But having said that, Lane does usually miss some time during the season at least,
Yeah, two
whether
or
it's
three
like a
games.
high
Yeah.
ankle sprain or something, he may miss some time, and we need adequate support. Depends how free agency goes, of course. If we bring back Fred
Big Freddie,
Johnston,
bring him back.
or swing tackle, and I'd love to bring Freddie back,
I
but
really want Freddie back. I want him
as we
back
said,
so bad.
he does he want to be back? He wants to be a starter, and we can't give him that.
Yeah.
So,
But there's a
so
path to him being a
it's the
starter
problem.
here. There's a path. 1 year prove it deal. 1 year deal, and I guess not a prove it deal. 1 year deal, and then Fred, we're gonna make you the starter next year. I don't know. It's probably not gonna happen, but hey ho.
Liam the negotiator.
What you got for Howie then? Take us through your health, high value, on-field production, what he brings when he plays, his intangibles, and his Eagles fit.
Yes, thank you. Um, so I've scored these out of 100 in each category and then taken the average, and it's generated a percentage
Nice.
for an overall Howie grade, which I'll present to the British and Irish Eagles. I'll put it in our group chats and I'll have it up on our website as well with each player profile so that you can have a bit more reading, slow time, independent, research for yourself. The
Selfless.
listener. Of course. I mean, I've taken the time, Liam, just to sit and go through each one of these, so it's easy for me just to
Share the
put it
wealth.
up on put it up online and let our listeners and or whoever stumbles across our website any some knowledge and do the work they don't have to do the work that I've already done. So,
Oh, wow.
so the Howie scale, health high value, so there's no long-term injuries that are
Good.
apparent. High value position as well, being an offensive tackle, so it's given a 90 for that. It's quite high.
Hmm. Makes sense.
On field
First round
production,
offensive tackle with no injuries makes sense to be 90. Yep.
yeah, most of these guys are 90. I think I put one higher than that. On-field production allowed 9 pressures, 3 sacks in 2025. So I've given them a little bit of lower grade on that, just a
The sacks.
75%.
Okay.
Yeah, for the 3 sacks they
Yeah.
had allowed. Which I know is harsh, especially playing in
It
the
is, but it's always
SEC.
what I look at. I like if I'm looking at offensive linemen, I'm always looking to see how many sacks they've allowed because when you look at the elite offensive linemen, like they just don't allow sacks at the college level because they're already playing at nearly an NFL level in college. So for
Yeah, there's
me,
nothing
like
worse when you turn on the tape and you just see the guy getting bull rushed, and you're like, oh no, he can't suit up in our uniform like that. He needs
no,
to put on some timber and drop
yeah,
his anchor.
yeah,
Um, it's the worst thing to see, but yeah, I feel for the guys because like we look at every minute little detail and tear them apart,
yeah,
and they're just people. But
they are.
this is what you have to do.
Hey, they're
Unfortunately,
going to be multimillionaires. We can't feel too bad for them. So
that's it. So W, what he brings when he
okay,
plays. So he is an improving pass blocker with limited starts experience. His run block does need improvement, but like from the season that he just had in 2025, he did improve as the season went on, as he gained more experience and got more playing time, got more snaps, got into you know a rhythm of playing time. So giving him a 65 mainly because of his run blocking ability just really
yep,
isn't there at the moment. Um, Intangibles. This is always the hardest category, by the way,
mm,
to rate when you're doing your research. Is I mean, just a bit of insight, Liam, in the background. I'm trawling through like Fox 29, Fox 13, like articles, interviews from like 3-4 years ago of these guys
nice.
just like shooting the breeze with Fox reporters, and how the game went, or
We should get this research over to Big Dom because that's what he does. And he's going to people's towns and speaking to their teachers and their neighbors. We need to get the research over to Big Dom of all of the article research you've done and the interviews of these kids back in the day.
yeah, I'm sitting watching Fox Utah. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I just like pick my head up and
Sublife,
like, what am I doing with my
Sublife.
life?
What? I love it.
But
Uh,
intangible. So I've got. He took a. This is actually a pretty good one, and I actually quite like this. And he took an ankle injury versus Kentucky. He was
okay.
in a boot, and he missed a lot of practice during the week. And he was in the interview that I watched. He said he was icing his ankle. He was sleeping with an ice blanket around his ankle,
Jeez.
just to try and get on the field, or to get as ready as possible that he could be available for
Tough
Auburn
guy.
the following Saturday, for his team and his teammates. Uh, and it so happened that the team needed him, and he had to come in for most of the game actually
Wow.
against Auburn, playing through pain. So that's high character to me. That's a guy that will do anything for his team, anything for his brothers on the offensive line. That's the kind of guys that we've already got in our building.
Yeah.
You look at what Cam and Landon done.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe it's hurt their careers a bit because we saw what we saw in 2025.
Yeah.
Uh, but these
But they
guys
got
are
a Super
warriors.
Bowl, and you can't take that away from them, right?
Yeah, these guys are warriors, and that's a warrior because what I don't want to see on a player profile is a guy that isn't willing to give everything, give his body, give for his teammates and for his team. So that's perfect for me. I love that. I gave him an 85
Awesome.
score for that. And Eagles fit. So we talked a little bit about this. I said he fits a need, but
Mm,
not immediate need because he'll
mm,
be able to sit for a year. So he has time to learn and improve in a very talented room. He's only 21 years old. It's ideal for him to sit for a year, and he has a high ceiling. So I'll give him an 80 for that, which brings out an overall Howie grade of 79% for Monroe Freeling from Georgia.
Good work, Mick. 79%. It's going to be really intriguing to see the rest of these percentages as we go through the other four prospects. But it's also, I think, going to be really even more interesting to see these ratings versus the rest of the position groups we're going to be doing, because I think that health high value 90 mark for the offensive line is rightly 90 because of the importance of that for the Eagles right. But I think that number is going to probably be lower for the other position groups,
Yeah,
because
well,
this overall Howie rating is, it's not just how good the player is, the intangibles the Eagles fit, it's how much they need him, and the value of the position as well. And so, I can imagine a world where, we're going to have the lowest ranked offensive lineman higher than the highest ranked tight end in terms of like a Howie score. It may not happen. That's I'm just shooting the breeze here, but like, or maybe another position, that we're discussing. So, yeah, I just interesting. I'm really interested to see how that's all going to play out, and I'd love a list when we've done all of this. I'd love to have that list of player name ranking all the way down from your highest percentage to your lowest percentage, and then see what happens in the draft. How fun would that be?
you'll see all my inconsistencies, Liam. You'll just say, like, how did you give him a 90, but you gave him a 40? That doesn't make any sense, mate. But
I don't know.
Liam, you know what?
It's science.
It was half
Science.
11 on a Thursday night, and I was tired, and I just wanted to get it over with. I was finished watching Fox, fucking
Utah.
Wisconsin.
Oh, I love it. Right, who we got next? I know who we got next. We got Kadyn Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. Looks like he's 6'7", also 21 years old, Mick. But unlike the previous prospect in Marilyn Monroe, Proctor has 360 pounds on his 6'7" frame. Talk to us a bit about Kadyn.
Yeah. Proctor is a guy who has been. I've seen him mocked to us on a few occasions
Yeah, same.
from league analysts. So this is a guy, no doubt, that listeners will be interested in hearing about. Um, so Kadyn Proctor's been around for a while as well. So he is vastly more experienced than most of the other prospects on this list, who having been a 3-year starter for Alabama. He's a junior class, so he's played his freshman, sophomore, and junior seasons, all at left tackle, and played for the entirety of those 3 seasons. He started Alabama true freshman 2023, and they had all SEC freshman honours
Right.
in that time. He's injured actually for the first few games of 2024, but it was only a few games he missed, and it wasn't a serious injury. And as I said, in 2025, started all 15 games for Alabama, earned first team All SEC honours. As we know, SEC supposed to be the premier conference in college football, but it seems to be the Big Ten these days. Not so much the SEC, but
And our first round pick from last year didn't come from the SEC, right?
no, yeah, he did.
He did? Oh, he did come from the Big Ten. All right. Yeah.
No, he came from the SEC.
Okay. Quinion.
No, Jihad.
Oh, sure. Am I a year out? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I was thinking some actual professional podcaster did this recently on a show, so I don't feel too bad about doing it. Yeah, God, sorry. I was thinking of Quinion when I said it, because Quinion, where was he drafted out of?
Toledo.
Toledo. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a G5 team.
Yeah.
They're small fish.
That was my take, was supposed to be that. But obviously completely fucked that up. This is the guy, Mick, that you were telling me has lined up in the Wildcat. A little bit like we've always wanted to see Jordan Mailata do. Is that right? Is that this guy?
Yeah. So this was what was fun actually. I was sitting today, and I did during the college season, I did see some of these plays pan out because Alabama are typically on or televised on the zone show or have been showing all of the college games over here. It's been fantastic. Actually, it's been
Awesome.
free to air as well for anyone with a DAZN account. You don't need a subscription. Just FYI for anyone listening, if you want to watch these college prospects, throughout the season, through last year, this year, it's all on DAZN. You can watch it all. It's great, and we have in our British and Irish Eagles, we have our college group chat as well, and we're talking in there about the games as they happen. It's a good community that we're building.
What's the chat been
Um,
like the last few weeks in the ramp up to the draft? I must admit, I put a couple of chats on mute because there's so many of them when the seasons aren't on.
yeah. No, I've got to say it's the college chat is quite quiet since the season ended. It's
Gotcha.
mostly all the draft chat is confined to the Eagles chat.
Yeah.
Um, not
Oh,
so
well.
much not so much the college chat at the moment. But when the season is on, then and on Saturday nights,
Mm,
it's usually quite active.
yeah. Good.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun tape to watch a bit of Kadyn Proctor, especially in the run game because he's an absolute man mauler. He goes down and just attacks people. He's seek and destroy. If you know your Metallica,
Heat seeking
uh,
missile.
yeah. But I mean, you watch it. You'll see him take a snap from Wildcat, and he powers up the gut against Mizzou, and he just misses out on the
Yes.
touchdown. It's like agonisingly close
I
to
mean,
a
it's never going
touchdown.
to happen, but we know because they're going to protect him so much.
Yeah,
But it
but
is fun. It is fun.
it's great. And then when Alabama played Georgia this past season as well, they had him line up at receiver, and they called a screen for him. He got to the first down, but he is just throwing bodies. He's just plowing through bodies. It is hilarious to watch. You know that scene in The Simpsons where they're playing football and Nelson
And
just
Nelson picks him up and just
yeah,
carries him and runs with him.
that's what it was like. That's what it was like. He's just a big hunk of man meat running for the end zone. I
Whereas
mean,
Andre Dillard was, what's that scene where he steps on all the rakes time and time again? Oh,
yeah. So,
Simpsons.
so they've used him in the Wildcat as a would be quarterback. They've used him to line up at receiver for a screen pass, and they've used him also to line up in the backfield for a carry against Vanderbilt this
Nice.
coming season. I mean, this guy. I'll come on it a bit later, but it shows you the sort of trust that the team has in this guy to be able to give him those looks or those carries or those plays that they're drawing him up
Clearly an
specifically for
athlete
him.
as well to be able to do that. To be able to do all of those things. Mick, what's the catch here? Like, it sounds like this guy's going first overall one right now with the plaudits you're giving him. What's the catch?
Yeah, well, despite all of this, his pass protection does need a little bit of work. He had a really shaky start to the 2025 season, and then he sort of locked in from maybe the first five or six games, and then he locked in and became a bit better. But he did allow 21 pressures in 2025, which is really high
Mm,
for for a tackle. That includes 2 sacks,
okay.
which isn't a lot, but the 21 pressures is quite concerning, and it sort of stands out to you when you're looking at the stat sheet. Also, we're talking about his movement and how he likes to he can pull and be a lead blocker, but I think his lateral movement isn't great. So if when you're watching his highlight reels, when he's moving side to side,
Mm,
uh, it's just not quick enough. I just don't think he has the quickness in his feet, which is a shame. Because if he did, I think, like you said, he would be going like in
top
the top
five.
10,
Yeah.
top 5, top 10. And that's the kind of concern that I've got for Kadyn Proctor is
Okay.
that lateral movement and not having the quickness coming out of his stance or the quickness in his feet. Because you can teach hand placement, hand movement technique, but I feel like you can't really teach the,
Can't teach
the
speed.
explosiveness and the speed and the quickness and the lateral move, you can't really teach that. That's got to be sort of built into him already. But perhaps maybe if he shifts some of the weight, he can it can make it a bit easier for him, because he is 360 pounds, or he's listed as 360 pounds. So if he
Yeah.
can even lose some of that, because he's at like a Milata weight just now, and that's heavy.
Yeah.
And he could bring that down. Maybe he could lose 20, maybe even 30 pounds. As long as he maintains that strength, obviously, as well, because we don't want him to lose his anchor, because that's what he is good at. But
What are we
yeah,
saying from a
like I
Howie
say,
grade perspective then, Mick? What do we got going on here? Just a reminder, we had 79% for Monroe.
yeah,
Um, what are your thoughts here on the stats to make up the Howie grade for Kadyn Proctor?
yeah. So we'll get health high value again. That's a 90, because he's not had any long term injuries. It's a high value position. On field product, he's allowed 21 pressures and 2 sacks. So I gave him a 60 for that.
Mhm.
That's quite a low value.
More pressures than Monroe, slightly less sacks, but a lot more pressures, nearly double the pressures. Feels right.
Yeah, yeah. Glad you're keeping me right, keeping me consistent, mate. What he brings is a maul on the run game, solid pass protector. Um, Intangibles, as I said, trusted, because Ryan Grubb, the OC Alabama, he trusts him on these trick plays, and that's confidence in him as a person,
Mhm.
to take on different responsibilities. And ball carrying is a big responsibility, especially for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And then Eagles fit. So again, it's a need, but not immediate. Has time to learn. It's mostly the same as I said for Monroe. So it gives us an overall Howie grade of 76%. So a little
Okay.
bit less than Monroe. I've got Monroe a little bit higher, or I'm a little bit higher on him than Kadyn at the moment.
And just quick question, Mick, because I know you haven't put this in here, but if you were going to predict where Monroe will be drafted in the first round, where would you don't need to hang your hat on it, but just what does your gut tell you where Monroe could be drafted in the first round? If all five are drafted, where would you slot him in?
Yeah, I think Monroe could be drafted somewhere that probably the second half of the first round, so like
Okay.
between like 20 and 32 is
And the
somewhere
same as
between
Caden?
there. But I don't think, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even like 25 to 32 with
Okay.
Caden.
Okay.
I think a little bit less, or
Yeah, just trying to gauge where your mind's at with them based on your gradings, because I didn't know whether like all five could be going top 15 or 20, but the
Mhm.
sounds like Proctor towards the end of the first round, um and Marilyn Monroe, um, the last third of the draft, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
But
what does that? So 76, is that 76 then? That's the grade you're giving them, just to be clear.
yes, yeah. So we'll see how that develops, especially like with the combine. We'll see what his three cone speed sort of looks like with his footwork and stuff.
I,
So
I
that might
wouldn't
be
mind
interesting.
a quick on next week's podcast, just a quick 5 minute. Have any of these percentage predictions gone up after you've watched the combine? Wouldn't mind. Don't need to go into all the details. Just the overall Howie percentage.
Yeah.
All right, I feel we're gonna get spice things up a little bit here, Mick, because this is the guy that you've got me all feeling warm and fuzzy about. Having spoken to you a little bit about it, and also read your notes on this guy. I think everyone knows I'm a huge Eagles fan and correspondent, and I can talk pretty much anything around the birds, but I'm not into my college football yet, and starting to get there. So I don't know a lot about this guy, but what I've read that you've written down looks awesome. Talk to me about Spencer Fano, offensive tackle from Utah, 6'6", 308 pounds, another 21-year-old. Mick, talk to me. Get me
I like
excited.
I like a 21-year-old, especially a Lomu 21-year-old.
Hey, me too.
But I wasn't expecting this, to be honest, Liam. When I started doing the notes for the podcast, I thought I'll collect a lot of defensive linemen at the top of the draft. Um, but specifically, I didn't do a profile on Maui Noah because I thought he's out of Eagles' reach. There's no chance we're drafting him, so I'm not doing the profile. And I thought about it for Spencer Fano, and I thought, well, I bother doing him because he's maybe not in Eagles' reach either. And then I was reading someone's, I can't remember who it was, but their sort of big board, and Fano was like 19 or something. And I thought,
Okay.
well, that is an Eagles reach, so that's enough for me to go and have a look at him, have a really good in-depth look at him. And when I did, I fell in love with him. I think he's the best tackle in the draft now, which is a
Wow,
shame because
even more.
now I don't think we're going to get him.
Well, you never know. You never know how he pulls off some of us. Even more than the guy you didn't do the profile on. You think he's even better than him?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do
Wow.
now.
Shout. All right.
But then
Let's hear
again, I
about him.
didn't do the profile on the other guy, so maybe if I did,
I think
then
you
it
need
would
to
be
go and do the
different.
profile just for your own
For
knowledge,
my own sanity,
for
yeah,
your own
absolutely.
sanity. You don't need to share it. You just for your own sanity. Share it with me. I want to
yeah,
know.
yeah. So Spencer, he started his career at left tackle for
Okay.
Utah.
There's a
As we
trend here.
mentioned, before, for one of the other prospects, I think it was Monroe. We were talking. He struggled. He struggled in his freshman season at left tackle, and he made the switch to right tackle, which you say is an easier position to play. He switched to right tackle in the bowl game against Northwestern in that freshman season, and he kept the job throughout 2024, earning first team All Big 12. So right tackle suited Spencer down.
Now we're talking.
He started 12 games at right tackle in 2025 and made first team All America and Big 12. He also won the Outland Trophy, which was the Best Lineman Award. That's quite a prestigious award. Jordan Davis previously won this in 2021. Other recipients of this award are Penny Sewell, Kelvin Banks, Quinnen Williams. Obviously, it includes
Sold.
defensive line as well as
Sold.
offensive line. So
Sign
this
him
is,
now.
I mean, this is an award winner, and it's the first time Utah have won this award. So it's a
Okay.
big deal for him, but it's a big
Yeah.
deal for the school as well. As I say, he's had a ton of experience. He's played 3 full seasons between. Well, the first season where he was in the Pac-12 as Utah played in the Pac-12 before they transferred over to the Big 12. For the last 2 seasons, he only allowed 5 pressures with 0 sacks
Here we
in
go.
2020. In
That's what I want to hear.
2025, that's what you want to hear. You want to see the guys with the 0 sacks and the low pressure rates,
Yep.
as does
Yep.
everyone. His previous season, even in 2024, still only 12 pressures and 1 sack, which is still pretty low and tremendous
17,
at right
17
tackle.
pressures and 1 sack over 2 seasons. When we were talking about 22 pressures and 2 sacks over 1 season for Proctor. So
Proctor, yeah.
yeah.
So you can see why this guy is like at the higher end of the
The O of
spectrum
the
with the draft.
Howie, the O of the Howie here is through the roof. His on-field production. Like
yes, absolutely.
This is the kind of player you go, oh, when you see him, oh, Howie O.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. So he's a true right tackle then. How is he on the pass and run game, and how is his feet compared to the 2 previous prospects we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, his overall pass blocking grade, according to PFF, is 81.5. His run blocking grade is 80.0. So
Wow.
the neck and neck, he's got a really good balance of both. His pass blocking ability and his run blocking ability are like extremely developed, and he has the technique, he has the size, he has pretty much everything. He's got a lot of speed and power and his play. He can pull and block downhill with speed and aggression. Like you can see, and he just flattens guys and he finishes them off as well when he puts them down. Which I love to see in a lineman. I love to see when the lineman climbs to the second level and just puts a linebacker right on their back and then jumps on top of them afterwards just for good measure. I love that kind of thing.
I do love that.
So yeah, and he is really light on his feet. He has like quite a good frame. Maybe like as a limitation, he probably needs to add a little bit more
Over
mass
10, 15 pounds. Yeah, 308.
Yeah, just for the NFL level, sort of like we're talking about Monroe as well. He's only 308 at the moment.
It's no surprise that the two guys you said are light in their feet and have good speed and movement are both 50 pounds lighter than Proctor, who doesn't. Maybe if Proctor loses some weight, he can get some more of that speed up, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these sort of agile, athletic types are like they're very suited to like zone schemes as well, which the Eagles do play a lot of. The Eagles play a lot of inside zone or outside zone. It's not so much gap running concepts. It's more the zone type stuff. And these agile sort of guys, they sort of they're better at that than your sort of just pieces of meat that just push people out of the way. So and a more of a gap concept, but uh, so it does sort of fit the mold of an Eagles tackle in that sense. For limitations, as I said, he didn't have a lot of pressure or didn't give up a lot of pressures, and he didn't give up any sacks. But notably, when I was talking about that Kadyn Proctor plays in the SEC, whereas Spencer
Mm,
Fano plays in the Big
Big
Ten.
12.
Sorry, the
Yeah,
Big 12,
12, yeah.
and the Big 12. The competition just isn't as good. It just isn't. Notably, he did have his worst game probably of the season against Texas Tech, who do have a very good defensive line. You'll see multiple Texas Tech defensive linemen in this draft, and David Bailey being the headline act of that Texas Tech defensive line. He's going to be a top 5 pick for sure, or top 10 at worst. As well as Iheanachor as well, the defensive tackle, and what's the other defensive end?
Well, David Beatty ran a 4.5 flat 40-yard dash at 250 pounds,
Yes.
combined with a 10-foot, 9-inch broad jump. So, yeah, I mean,
No, he's a freak.
he hasn't hurt his stock value there.
And there's only one man that can stop him. And we'll come on to
Yeah.
that. We'll come on to that. We'll come on to
Okay.
that. Yeah, but as I said, I think Spencer Fano ticks a lot of boxes, and it's very likely we'll have to trade up for him. In fact, there's no scenario in my mind that we can take him at 23. That it needs to be a trade up. We would have to find someone, a trade partner, and we'd have to give up additional capital. Maybe a player, but probably capital to get that. And it's whether or not you find that palatable. If you would rather go with someone you can develop like Monroe and take them at 23, not give anything up, or would you rather a Fano trade up into 15, the top 15, and give up whatever it takes to get from 23 to 15? Maybe a third. Would it take more than that?
The only thing that's making me question it now, is that game against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's pulling me in from falling completely in love with him, because I do think that the fact that he's playing in the Big 12, if he was playing in the Big 10 or the SEC, would he have had 0 sacks? Would he have had 5 pressures facing stiffer competition? Maybe not. So that maybe pulls him. Yeah, but it's one game, and obviously all the rest of the talent is there from a physicality standpoint. The intangibles, which I'm sure you'll get into as well. I don't like it when I see their one game was bad against the one big pass rush threat. Not that there wasn't more pass rush threats that year, but that's a slight detractor there, I suppose. That stops them from being like 100 on the board all round for the Howie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. Liam.
Let's get into the
It's,
Howie then, and I wonder, Mick, just given the time, if we do one more rather than two more, and we do the last one because we talked about him on the podcast last week.
okay. Yeah, that's no problem.
That
Yeah,
work for you?
time is getting. Yep, absolutely. And as I said, I'll publish these anyway. So if you're really interested, you can go and have a read. The next prospect would have been Caleb Lomu, who is the other tackle from Utah, who is likely to be drafted in the first round. You can read about him on our website then.
So
So we'll go on to
before we move
we'll
on
go
to the
on to the
last one,
Howie.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do the Howie. And then go ahead, Mick.
Yeah, we'll do the Howie of Spencer Fano first. So his
Yeah,
health high value, no long term injuries, he's not torn an
90.
ACL or anything like that. High value position, and because he's a top 15 pick, it's 95.
Oh,
On
95.
field,
Yeah,
yeah, well, the additional five just because he's a top 15 pick, which is even higher value
gotcha. Yep,
than a later round pick. That's
gotcha.
how I worked out in my head anyway.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Um, On field production, 5 pressures, 0 sacks, 95.
Yep,
No
agreed.
brainer.
Yep.
What he brings when he plays. So, yeah, balanced in pass run game. You see that from his PFF grades. Can play both zone gap schemes. He has a very high ceiling. Could start immediately or fill in any time that Lane misses. So unlike some of the other guys, I think if Lane had to go down for a couple of games during the season, if Fano came in, he could start immediately and he could hold up and he wouldn't lose as the game. Well, if you brought in maybe Freeling and you
Mm,
threw him in, he might struggle. But so I gave him a bit more points for that. So that was a 90. He's intangibles. He's a team captain. So
love that.
that goes high in my books as well.
That's what we were talking about last week when we were talking about the intangibles. Team captain is right up there. High character.
Yeah, leader in the locker room. So the team captains are always voted by the rest of the squad, as you know. So well liked and well respected in the locker room. From the interview that I watched on Fox Utah, he said he had learned a lot from studying tape and studying
Smart then.
defenses and how they operate. So I think he's got a really high IQ. Even just listening to him speak, he seemed like a really well-rounded individual, like really down to
Sure.
earth and really really nice guy. Actually, I came off the interview
Yeah.
thinking like I really like this guy. Comes across really well. Give him a 90 for that. And Eagles fit. I just said leader, likable, explosive, athletic. Exactly the mold of an Eagles tackle.
Yeah.
90 again. So it's an overall grade of 92%, which is unsurprisingly the
Oh,
highest one that I've
might
ever
be
had.
the highest in the whole road to the draft, depending
Could
on
be.
if you well maybe you do the sort of tackle on the side and you rate him higher, or maybe that tight end who's ridiculous gets a high one too. But yeah, that's awesome, 92%, and yeah, what better comparison than a Lomu 21, as you said, premium, refined, polished, elite traits. Go buy yourself a bottle. I can attest they are magical because I've had one myself, and I believe you have too, Mick. Right? You have a 21-year-old, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Beautiful.
I wonder if I've finished it. I think I've
I
still got a
doubt
little
you've
bit
got
left.
any left. No chance you've
I
any left.
might. Well, I was only keeping it for special occasions, and you know,
Yeah,
those
suppose.
don't come around often.
Yeah.
Um, right, final prospect, Liam. Let's
Max
wrap this up.
Iheanachor,
Yes,
offensive tackle from Arizona State. Another 21-year-old, right in the sweet spot at 330, 6'6".
yeah,
He's a senior. Take us away, Mick.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
oh, he's 24. Sorry, my bad.
yeah.
So he's
No,
older than me.
not your bad, my bad. I had made a copy and paste error there, Liam.
No,
But it's
you're
just
all
when you
good.
said it, I clocked it, and yeah, he's actually
But that's a big
24
thing
years
for me,
old.
Mick. And you've heard me say this on podcasts through the years when we've been doing lead ups to this. I don't like drafting old players because
No,
the value of your pick is diminished by the amount of years they can play. Like you're limiting this guy to probably 10, 11 years max rather than someone who could play for 13, 14, 15. You know, I'm already off to a bad start with this one, Mick. You giving me a 24-year-old here? I'm not happy.
I know. I listen, mate. I know that, and when I'd started this process, and when we were talking about him last week, I hadn't realised that either. It's
Okay.
actually quite difficult to find out his age. I don't know why it's been so. Well, I kind of know. I know why now that it's been sort of kept almost secret, because if you look at any of the draft websites, you look at the NFL website of the combine, and you look at some of the even PFF. None of them have his age listed, which I found very strange.
That is
And I was like,
strange.
he's a senior as well. I was
Mm.
thinking he can't be 21. So I did a bit more research, and it turns out I think he's 24. Or most people seem to think he's around 24. And as you say, that becomes a concern, because then you're thinking this guy's going to come in, he's going to sit a year, so he's potentially not starting until he's 25, which isn't great, obviously. But I mean, sometimes when you draft players, if you get them to a second contract, that's still a success.
True,
It doesn't
true.
have to be 10 years. It doesn't have, like a Lane
I'm
Johnson.
just thinking about the
That's
way that
almost unheard of.
but the way the Eagles draft is like that. They draft for long. The Eagles want to get their first round draft picks a second contract, unlike the Dallas Cowboys, who would rather just let them walk out the door and save some cash.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at Landon. Like he's probably going to retire after this season, or who knows what Landon will do. But I don't think Landon will play for another contract. So I think his second contract and done. And whether or not Iheanachor could be that, if he plays well, he's a serviceable right tackle for that duration of 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Then that's still a really good return on
True.
someone that you perhaps it's always darts at a dartboard with draft prospects. You can do as much research as you want, but you never actually know until you have them play some games in your
Yep.
team's colours. So this guy, as we spoke about last week, is a good story. He's plying his trade at East LA Community College, transferred to Arizona State in 2023. Injuries along the offensive line forced him into action, where he played 6 games with 5 starts at right tackle. He won the starting job and played all 14 games at right tackle in 2024. Played in all 12 games in 2025, earning second team all Big 12 honours. Obviously, the first team all Big 12 honours went to Spencer Fano, because he's a better prospect.
That's fair.
But I mean, but this guy, the reason that I included him in the draft profile was because he is rising up draft boards, because of what he did at the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl week, he showed out there. As I said, he's a redshirt senior, so he attended Senior Bowl, and that's worked wonders for him. I believe he's climbing into the first round now. A lot of people were looking at him mainly in the second round. In fact, when I done my mock draft Monday just gone, I took him in the second round at 54 overall. I don't believe he will last that long now.
No,
just because of the hype that's sort of circled around him. He is at the combine, so we'll see what comes out of the combine, of course, as well.
How many sacks, Mick? 2025.
You just want to get down to the numbers, don't you? You just care about sacks. So it allowed 14 pressures, which is quite high, but zero sacks and those numbers. So if you only care about sacks, then fantastic.
No, I care about pressures and sacks. I think they're the two main barometers for me when it comes to measuring these offensive tackles. So I'll take the no sacks, but the 14 pressures concerns me a little.
Yeah, but I mean, I think his footwork is excellent, and his balance and athleticism, even at he's 330 pounds, and that doesn't even really show up on tape, because you look at it and he's flying. And as we said about Spencer Fano, when they played Texas Tech, Arizona State also played Texas Tech this season, and he played against the same pass rushers, and he stood up David Bailey. He did not let him get to the quarterback.
All right, here we go.
He stonewalled that guy, that athletic freak who's showing out at the combine. So
it feels like his ceiling's higher.
He's got a bit of juice, especially because he's a guy who's hardly played any football. He only started playing football in community college, and in high school he was still playing basketball. Before that he was playing soccer. He's still learning the game. He's still processing the game. He's still learning technique. He's getting better and better every season, every passing year. So could he come into the Eagles and improve even more? Absolutely. And is this a scenario where the Eagles could be sitting at 23 and even trade back and earn more trade capital? More draft capital.
Sounds like a Howie move
this
to
guy.
Me.
So we're talking, maybe if we're sitting at 23, someone wants to come up and draft God knows who, and we sit back at 30, pick 30, take Spencer Fano, but we also pick up a an extra third round pick or something like that. That sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds like a
Um,
Howie move. What are we
Sounds like
talking
a Howie
about?
move.
What are we talking about on the Howie matrix? What are we looking
The
at
Howie
here?
scale. Yeah, so the health high value, no long term injuries, high value 90. On field production allowed 14 pressures, 0 sacks. That's an 85.
Hmm.
Dinged him a little bit for his higher pressure rate.
Hmm.
What he brings when he plays, so high floor, pass protector. Um, his football career's only getting started. As I said, he is a redshirt senior, but a couple of those years were community college football. It wasn't NCAA Division One, in a power conference, and Eagles fit. So I think he does have a lot going for him. His trajectory is pointing up,
Yeah.
but he does need to develop. He's still developing. He still needs to develop. Predominantly, he's played in gap schemes at Arizona State as well, and he'll need to learn zone, especially because I think the Eagles play a high percentage of zone. And I give him a 75 for that for an overall rating of 81%.
Okay. Nice. Very good. I think of the four we've talked through so far, Fano is my number one. Iheanachor is number two. I've then got Marilyn Monroe at three, and
Yeah, Freeling and then
Kadyn
Proctor.
Proctor at four. Obviously, we haven't talked about Caleb Lomu, but I'll do some reading up on that. But yeah, this
Yeah,
has been great detailed insights into four projected first round tackles for the Eagles who they could hire. Mick, who's most likely to fall to the who is most likely for the Eagles to either trade back for, trade up for, or take where they land? Who do you think is most likely to be an Eagle of those four?
who's most likely? That's a very good question. Very difficult to answer as well. Uh, Possibly Monroe Freeling. I'll go out on a limb and say Monroe Freeling maybe the one that the Eagles go for. Based on he should be around when the Eagles are drafting,
Mhm.
or around that sort of occupying that sort of space somewhere between 18 and 25, somewhere around there. I would expect him to be picked up. Um,
High ceiling
Depending
as
on
well if he puts on
what
weight, right?
happens. Yeah, yeah, I think he's got a high ceiling. He's definitely got the frame to fill it out, and um, like a lot of these guys, he doesn't have a lot of experience, obviously, which sort of goes against him at the moment. But he'll get there. You're sort of betting on um, what he can do for you rather than what he's already done at the college level. So it's a bit
About
of
a year
projection.
behind Lane, maybe 2 years behind Lane, depending on what he wants to do to learn and develop. I would I
Yeah, a
would
bit of
cer-
projection.
I would certainly take that. Nicholas, it is 12:30 p.m. for you back home. You are a trooper, sir, and I also need to grab some food because I've not eaten since about 1 p.m. and it's 7:30 here. Thanks for taking us through episode two of the Road to the Draft. Do you have an inkling as to which position group we're going to be discussing next week? Could we do tight ends? Is that a possibility?
I can do whatever you like. I was thinking probably defensive end, but what I'll do, I'll maybe put a poll on the group and let the group decide
Good
which position
shout.
group that we'll do
Love a bit of fan
next.
engagement out there. Love a bit
Yeah,
of
of
that.
course. But yeah, but if you do get the chance, do read about Caleb Lomu. I think he is one of the top guys in this draft. I do like him a little bit more than Iheanachor.
Okay.
I think I have him second. I think I have him second or third in this list. So
Oh,
yeah,
spoiler alert, you have him at
do check that out.
82% Howie grade, 1% more than
1% higher.
Ian Achor.
Yeah,
Um, and he
funny how
also
things
had
work
zero
out.
sacks and one less pressure, or four less pressures and one less sack than Ian Achor. So
Yeah,
there
there
you
you
go.
go.
There you go. Alrighty. Well, listen, that'll be it for this episodes of the British and Irish Eagles podcast, Road to the Draft. Thank you, Mick, for doing all of the research, giving us your insights based on your college watching football last year and also your extracurricular Fox 13 Utah YouTube researching, you mad sicko, to give us some of the intangibles on these players. I know everyone listening in will really appreciate listening to it and appreciate all your work on that. So thanks for joining on the podcast, Mick. Next week I will be in Florida for when we are recording. So look
Oh,
out
flex
for,
again.
yeah, you look out for some flowery shirts and maybe even some sunglasses on the podcast.
Lovely.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening in, everyone. We are the British and Irish Eagles. Go check us out at www.phillysportsinternational.com. There are rumors that the Eagles will be playing in London next year, potentially against the Jaguars or the Commanders. So maybe we'll have some more news about that in the coming weeks in the lead up to both the draft and also the release, which unfortunately is until May. But I have a feeling we're going to find out something a little bit sooner than that. So yeah, listen, have great weekends, everyone. Enjoy watching the combine, or if you've already watched it, let us know what you thought about your favorite prospects. Drop Mick a note. I know he'd love to hear from you. I would as well. And we'll get these player profiles up on the website pretty soon. We'll end it out with the Eagles' premier sponsor, Loch Lomond Whiskies. Bye, everyone. Go Birds.
Celebrate victories, rally through challenges, and bond with fellow fans as you toast with a dram of Loch Lomond single malt whisky. From tailgating gatherings to watch parties at home, Loch Lomond whisky becomes an essential companion, enhancing the moments that make football so extraordinary. It's the perfect accompaniment, from the joy of victory to the bittersweet moments of defeat. Loch Lomond offer a wide range of malts, with their flagship perfectly balanced, and signature expressions Inchmoan and Inchmuren to suit any taste palate. Celebrate greatness on and off the field this season with a perfect balance of Loch Lomond whisky and Eagles football. From the first pour to the crowd roar, fly Eagles fly.